For those of you that have, okay, let me do this because I'm seeing others have not connected with the audio. So it might become tricky or challenging for you. Wonderful. Okay, let me introduce myself. So my name is Privilege, and I'm actually a tutor with Grad Quest Consulting, and I specialize mainly with internal auditing. I've done my undergraduate degree level of internal auditing with the University of Pretoria, and I've done my honors in internal auditing with UNISA, right? So I will be helping you guys just to help guide you guys in regards to how this module really operate. But before I can actually get started into discussing that aspect, I just want to quickly take you guys through the guidance of who we are, right? So to open up with this presentation, I'm going to take you through just a brief introduction of who we are as Grad Quest Consulting. We are, of course, a private tutorial institution, and our specialty is in offering tutorial services to students that are doing their undergraduate degree level, their honors level, as well as master's level. So we've got different groups in this sense. And in your case, you are still at your undergraduate level because this is a third year module in internal auditing. And in terms of our structure, we've got a team of tutors that are specializing in different fields of study. And as you can see and listed, we've got the EMS faculty, BSc and IT faculty, together with the faculty of law. But in your case, obviously, you are within the EMS faculty. So that is the faculty that we are focusing on. The goal that we have as Grad Quest Consulting is to add value and to help facilitate students. In this case, you'll be considered our clients so that you can be able to complete your qualifications in record time. So the essence behind Grad Quest is just to ensure that upon your quest of your academics, you can be able to complete everything within record time. I'll explain more about our service offering. And by the way, this is just to help you to understand who we are. And of course, I'm going to do a proper presentation with regards to one of the topics in this module over here. So I just want to sort of give you a background of who we are. That's why I'm explaining all this. Is just a 10-page presentation before we can actually get into the actual content, which is the core of why we are having this, this orientation. So the agenda outline in this presentation, I'm going to give you guys the module outline. In other words, how many topics there is, which topics are important for the purposes of this module, and obviously how we are going to interpret them. Suppose if you make a decision to enroll for our tutorial services. So I'm going to give you a module outline, the assignment structures, and obviously I'll explain about our services, and in terms also, lastly, the fees structure that we have in regards to the services that we offer. So let me get straight into the module outline. Ladies and gentlemen, AUI 3704, it's a module that is comprised of 6 outlined topics as follows. So you've got topic 1, dealing with professional guidance for internal auditing practice. And part of that is what I'm going to be introducing you guys to through this presentation over here. And then topic number 2 deals with the concept of corporate governance, okay, affecting the management of internal audit activities. And I want to say something here concerning this particular topic in particular. So corporate governance, ladies and gentlemen, is actually one of the core topics in this module. What I mean when I'm saying it's one of the core topics in this module, it means that you would find most of the examination questions you are going to find, it can weigh from 30% to 50% of the exam. I'm talking of this particular topic alone, topic number 2. So it's really one of those topics I would mark here as NB. You're going to observe why I'm saying it's actually one of the major topics in this module when we look at past exam papers. And you're also going to see how it is tested. In other words, the line of testing. You will be able to better understand the line of testing when I take you guys through the previous assignments. So I'm going to explain how everything unfolds. So, but one of the key things I just want you also to take note of while I'm still on topic number 2, and why I'm explaining and I'm giving emphasis on it is because as I explain past exam papers with you, take you through the previous assignments with you, you're going to see the line of answering that the examiner expects of you. It's very, very important that you have an understanding of how you're supposed to respond to them. Exam questions, be it they come in a form of an assignment, or they come in an actual exam that you're going to write within the period May, June of this semester. So it's important that you really have an understanding of the line of answering. And then, of course, we've got the rest of the other topics, like topic 3, which deals with acts and regulations affecting the management of internal audit activities. And on this note, I should also mention that there is a bit of Companies Act that we're going to touch on in as far as this topic is concerned. But again, I must also emphasize this, that with regards to this topic, it is still connected, or rather interconnected, with the corporate governance concept. So it's very important that as I'm teaching you topic number 2, when we get to that stage, you would begin to see how it connects with the rest of the other topics as enlisted, of course, in the module outline. Topic 4 deals with the foundation for the internal audit activity. And just to help those who don't understand what is meant by an internal audit activity, an internal audit activity simply refers to the internal audit department of an organization. That's what an internal audit activity really is. And an internal audit activity is a department which is headed by an individual or a personnel known as the Chief Audit Executive, designation CAE. And for you to be appointed, all right, as a Chief Audit Executive, of an organization, you should have your CIA designation, designation, which is a designation or professional qualification of certified internal auditors that you can only get when you write your professional board exams with the IIA. And the IIA simply refers to the Institute of Internal Auditors. My advice to all of you would be that if you want to take internal auditing as a career, for you to become marketable and highly recommended as a professional in practice, you should go for your CIA designation. And that is the essence for somebody that is actually studying internal auditing as a degree qualification. I would urge you to go for your CIA designation as soon as you complete with your degree. Or you can actually go for your honors immediately, and then once you have done your honors, you actually get exemptions when you go about writing your board exams with the CIA, right? I don't want to say much in terms of that, but it's part and parcel of the things that at least I can just open your eyes to see where are you taking internal auditing as a professional career, because it is actually considered as one. And then we've got topic number 5, dealing with procedures for establishing the internal audit activity, right? I'm going to deal with that concept as a standalone. And then number 6, managing and administration of the internal audit activity. It's one of those questions that you would actually, one of those topics which is highly tested when you are looking at a multiple choice question. That's topic number 6. And just before I go to the next part where I begin to discuss on assignments, I just want to also highlight something to you in terms of what I would call sources of reference. Sources of reference. In other words, what are the materials that we are going to use, or textbooks that we are going to use? So one of the essential sources of note which I would recommend, apart from the ones you would see in the guide, in the study guide, and by the way, I would refer you to your study guide in that regards for you to see which textbooks in particular. But one of the core textbooks that I need to highlight, and this you will not see in your study guide, but it's actually one of the core textbooks that you actually need, so to speak. It is your audit notes. Audit notes. Or what is commonly known as the Jackson and Stans. Jackson and Stans. Currently, the latest edition of this, it is the 12th edition. So I would recommend that you go about getting this particular book, apart from the ones you see in the study guide. So the other ones, I would refer you to the study guide. And there are 3 of them that you see in the study guide. So there's an introduction to internal auditing, which is I think the 6th edition. It's a small book, greenish in color. Then the second one is performance of internal audit engagements, which is more orange in color. And the third one, it is internal audit perspective, which is more bluish in color. Again, in that book, you would see the concept of corporate governance being unveiled better, as well as the rest of the other concepts here. For example, foundation for the internal audit activity, all the way to topic number 6, they are really unveiled better in internal audit services, which is the bluish textbook. But all of that information, ladies and gentlemen, you would discover it from the study guide. And then proceeding further, I want to talk about the assignment. I want to talk about the assignments. In this module, you will have 4 assignments. 4 assignments. And of the 4 assignments, the first 2 assignments, they are MCQ-based assignments. And the other remaining 3, to make it 4, they are essay-based assignments. Meaning to say these ones, they are written assignments, okay? All these assignments, all 4 of them, if you follow properly through your study guide or the tutorial letter 101, you will discover that they will refer you a lot to access the assignments on My UNISA, the online platform. So what you will discover, ladies and gentlemen, and I will actually urge you to actually go about checking your My UNISA platform, and this just helps you to familiarize yourself with some of the changes, because there were changes that were made to the My UNISA platform. I would urge you to actually gain access to it so that you can see those changes. But one of the things you will see, the assignments, they will normally be under the online tab. There's an online tab or online assessment tab, which you would see when you actually log in to your My UNISA platform, and there you'll be able to see the assignments. But also, I can also urge you to go through the announcements, which would either be shared through the My UNISA platform, or you would actually find it via your My Live email. So I'll just urge you to make sure, for administrative purposes, you have a look at that to acquaint yourself with when the assignments would be made available on the My UNISA platform and when are they supposed to be completed. Right. So it's very, very important. So there will be 4 essential assignments, and just this one is just a token for those of you that have actually attended this session. I'll be offering a 50% discount for assignment 1, assistance, and this is only exclusive to those of you that are present in this orientation. So I'm going to help you with that. I'm going to help you with that. And let's talk about our services now. What exactly does Grad Quest offer as a tutorial service package? So here's what we offer. We offer tutorial classes such as the one that I'm conducting now. Of course, it's in form of an orientation, but it can either be online, as it were now, or it can be face-to-face. We've got a facility in Pretoria Central by 215. That is our address line, where you can engage with the tutor face-to-face. So for those of you that are more comfortable to attend classes in person, we do have face-to-face conduct classes. Normally, these ones are hosted normally over the weekend on Saturdays. The online sessions only happens between during the course of the week, after hours, obviously from 5 p.m. and depending, of course, within the schedule, which we will share with you guys on the group. And then we also give you guys assistance with your assignments. Okay, we give you assignment guidance. And I want to emphasize something, and this would help you also, especially for those of you that are looking forward to take internal auditing as a career. When you do your honors, they're very strict when it comes to plagiarism. Same even with your third year level. So with the assignment 3 and 4, which are essay based, I would ideally urge students to join the discussion room where we discuss the assignment in class together. And why I do the discussions of the assignment with the students in a class setup, I'm avoiding a setup where we have issues where somebody would say, well, I got 0 because there was plagiarism detected on my assignment. But you discover when you attend a discussion session like this, where we are discussing the assignment, hardly would you get a circumstance where you would fail the assignment simply because there's plagiarism. So when we discuss the assignment, we normally engage students in that setup. Okay, so that's all to do with the assignments. Then we also have what we call an exam preparation kit. And the exam preparation kit is a combination of what is known as study packs. And the study pack is basically a setup of questions. And these questions are examinable questions. So it could be coming from past exams that have been tested previously, or it could be coming in setup of previous assignments that have been tested in the previous years. And there'll be answers or suggested solutions to that. Then we also have, of course, the actual tutor preparatory notes. These are notes that I use as a tutor to teach you guys in class, and they can be useful materials to help you prepare for exam purposes. And then we also give you guys research facilitation. Research facilitation is just a tool package that is available, especially for somebody that is doing their honors level or that intend to do their honors level. So we give you guidelines in that regard. There's one-on-one consultations, and I must emphasize, this is only available by appointments. So you'll see our communication at the end of this, this document. So you can make an appointment if you want to engage with the tutor one-on-one. You can make an appointment from the contact information that we'll share. So that's much to do with our service offering. And in terms of the fees structure, here's our fees structure. So for a full tutorial package, and when I'm saying full tutorial package, I'm referring to each and every line item that you see under our service offering. It is going for, and by the way, it's on semester base. So it's going for 1,400 rands. For the MCQ assignments, which is assignment 1 or assignment 2 guide, we're offering that at 200 rands. And for assignment 1, like I said earlier, if you have attended this session and suppose you are still in a decision-making mode, you are not sure whether you want to take our tutorial package and you just perhaps maybe need assistance with the assignment, we'll give you a 50% discount on assignment 1, meaning to say it will be 100 rands for one assignment, or rather the first assignment. Then if you are one of those that just want assignment assistance only, if it's essay based, it's going for 300 rand per assignment. So I'll also, of course, give you the actual assignment answers, and then I'll also give you guidance of how to ensure that we don't encounter plagiarism. And then with exam preparation kit, if somebody just wants an exam preparation kit, that is basically to refer to the study packs and with the questions and answers and the preparatory notes, that is a package going for 450 rands. Then there's what we call a bootcamp. A bootcamp is only a package available towards examination period time. That one, it's a combination of everything in the exam preparation kit coupled with the tutor explaining everything in the content for this module for a 2 day. So it's a full day training session, which I take you guys through. I would only urge for one to take this if you are confident of yourself that you can study as an individual. But if you're one of those that say, you know what, I'm working full time and perhaps I can do with somebody teaching me on a weekly basis, and then of course towards exam I can attend a 2-day division where we go over really through the entire content, well, I can actually consider that. So this is our semester fees structure. And so just to rush to quickly finish with the administration issues, this will be our website. It will be live from the 1st of March 2022. So don't worry about taking the details there. I'll send the content document in your WhatsApp group. And in terms of our contact details, there is our WhatsApp contact, which you obviously get in touch with me, and that's how you got the link for this session. And this will be our email addresses for communication via email: info@gradquest.org or gradquesttutorials@gmail.com. So that will be our medium of communication. And with that having been said, in our closing remarks, just for the sake of this presentation, my advice would be to say enroll with Grad Quest. You will not regret it. And without further ado, I want to quickly introduce you to topic number 1 briefly. So in topic number 1, ladies and gentlemen, it's a topic that deals with a concept called IPPF. And in the IPPF, there are different elements that I'm going to show you. And those elements can be classified into 2 groups, and I'm going to show you how that classification really works. So I'm going to jump the introduction part and just explain the 2 classification groups of IPPF. So when you're talking of the IPPF, there are 2 groups. There is what we call the mandatory requirements elements in the IPPF. And then there's what we call the strongly recommended elements in the IPPF. Don't worry so much about the explanation of what mandatory really mean or what recommended or strongly recommended really mean. What you just need to know is the classification to say, when I'm talking of mandatory guidance in the IPPF framework, what exactly are we talking about? And when we're talking of the strongly recommended guidance, what is it exactly? So when you're talking of mandatory guidance, ladies and gentlemen, there is 4 important elements under the mandatory guidance, namely the core principles of internal auditing, secondly, followed by the definition of internal auditing, followed by the Ippf standards, and lastly, the Iia Code of Ethics. All 4 of these elements are what is known as your mandatory guidance according to the Ippf framework. And then we've got the strongly recommended, and in those we find about 2 of them, namely implementation guidance and the supplemental guidance. I just want to point out something very brief with regards to the implementation guidance. Implementation guidance, they give you a better clarification, or they give an in-detail understanding of what Ippf standards really are. So when you get to a concept where I explain Ippf standards, you would notice it's classified into 2 groups. And then there's 1 subgroup, which is called those implementation standards. But basically, implementation standards is one and the same thing as implementation guidance. So under Ippf standards, we have got 2. There's attribute standards, and there's what is known as performance standards. Under each one of them, to better further clarify what attribute standards is and what performance standards is, there is what we call implementation standards. But that is something that I'll explain as we move along with this discussion. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we can also see the same classification in a tabular format as follows: mandatory guidance with 4 of those elements as enlisted on the far left of your screen, and then recommended guidance enlisted on the far right of your screen. Now, let me explain another important line that I think you just need to know this for theory purposes. It can come as an MCQ question. What is the mission statement of internal auditing? It's basically to enhance and to protect organizational value, right? How do we do this? By providing a risk-based and an objective assurance, advice, and insight to our clients. I repeat, to enhance. So if I'm enhancing, it means I'm improving something. Protect, and also to protect organizational value, okay? How do we do that? And when we're talking of protecting organizational value, this is on the basis of 3 important processes. 3 important processes that you would see, and that is what creates value in an organization. Number 1, there's what we call control processes. That's one of the processes you see. The second one is called the risk management processes. Then lastly, we've got what we call governance processes. So that is what we are trying to protect. How? By providing a risk-based and objective assurance, advice, and insight to our clients. So your client as an internal auditor, it can be the organization that you are working for, or if you're working in an audit firm, it means that could be somebody who is a third-party client. Okay, but under normal circumstances, internal auditors, they are employed as employees of organizations. That's why under normal circumstances, we go to different organizations, whether be it in the private sector or be it in the public sector, you find that they have an internal audit department somewhere. So that's why I'm saying that internal auditors, highly normal, under normal circumstances, they are employed as employees of organizations. So that was the mission of internal audit. Just to give you a brief of the definition of internal auditing, and by the way, this is one of the elements which are found under the mandatory guidance. So internal auditing, by definition, it's an independent, objective, assurance, and consulting activity. Very important, ladies and gentlemen, to be able to distinguish between assurance versus consulting services. These are the typical type of services that internal auditors would provide. It will be either in form of an assurance service or in form of a consulting service. I want to quickly just explain the difference. Consulting services, they are more advisory in nature, and they are specific oriented, meaning to say when management or a particular manager in an organization requests for advice, it will be very specific that they need advice on a specific matter. So those are your typical consulting activity. But now when we look at an assurance service or activity, it's a detailed audit assignment. So a good example could be an audit of the revenue and receipt cycle in the organization. It could be an audit of acquisitions and payment cycle of the organization. By the way, revenue and receipt cycle.
Internal auditing. Independent objective assurance.
Okay. Okay. Are we still together, colleagues? I think somebody unmuted and then maybe was talking to someone. Okay, can I proceed? Pardon me?
Yes, still together.
Okay, so I can proceed?
Yes.
Okay, great stuff. So proceeding further, gentlemen, these are basic things you should be able to know, right? And then explaining the definition further, it's an independent objective assurance and consulting activity designed to add value and improve an organization's operations. And just to finish that part off, it helps an organization accomplish its objectives by bringing a systematic, disciplined approach to evaluate and improve the effectiveness of, number one, risk management process, the control process, and the governance process. I've already explained about those as I was, taking you guys through this presentation. I don't want to dwell so much on this. But one of the things I should also just highlight to you and bring this to your attention, governance process, that is where the corporate governance as a concept is derived. Okay. Now, the one I want to maybe dwell a bit on for the sake of this presentation, and again, the reason why I'm taking you through this particular topic, I'm just showing you the line of teaching that we use. And this helps you to be able to make a decision whether you want to enroll with us, or maybe you could be okay doing your own self-study, which is okay. So I want to explain what the Iia Code of Ethics really is. Iia Code of Ethics has got two essential components, namely the principles and the rules of conduct. And I must emphasize this. This is another topic they give a lot of marks to. I want to prove this to you by opening one of the previous exams so that you can actually observe these things for yourself. In the next minute, I'll be able to open that to you. Just allow me a second. I'm going to pause it. So that is a May-June 2019 paper. I just want to quickly show you so you can be able to see. For example, I mentioned to you that, I mentioned the concept of corporate governance, that it's one of those that is highly tested for exam purposes. Look at the marks, 28% of your exam. Now, that's quite a lot of marks. Of course, with the MCQs, you also see corporate governance being tested, but I need to highlight this. Multiple choice questions for exam purposes, it's a combination of literally everything for this module. So the best way to prepare is to do as much questions as you can possibly do. Then Iia Code of Ethics is right over here. So if time allows, we are going to actually jump into that question briefly. so that I can actually show you also when I'm teaching you, where we are looking at an exam question or just a question in its own sense. How do I teach, and how do I ensure that you can also interact with me? So briefly, I'm going to take you first of all through the Iia Code of Ethics. So you can see two important elements in this. It's always about the principles and the rules of conduct. Easy way to remember this for exam purposes, colleagues. For exam purposes, to remember the Iia Code of Ethics. This is actually what I did when I was doing my undergraduate, and this is what my lecturer told me. So to easily remember the principles of the Iia Code of Ethics, you draw a human face and you discover that there's two eyes. On a human face, there's a nose, and then there's a mouth. And I'm going to explain what these things represent. So with this first eye that you're looking at there, it simply stands for confidentiality. That's number one, confidentiality. The second I stands for competency. That's number two. And the nose simply stands for integrity. That's number three. The mouth stands for objectivity. Principle. Making sense? I know some of you are probably familiar with these things, okay? You're probably familiar from AUI 2601, or perhaps you might have done AUI 3701. Why I'm taking time to explain this, not only because I want to show you my line of teaching, but it's an important concept in this module, okay? It's very, very important, because you could see with the previous exam question that I just displayed, that's about 28% of your overall question paper. So it is important to really be able to answer it. And at this level, and I must say that it's not only about Iia Code of Ethics. When you go through the questions, they would actually say which violation of the IPPF elements. So it's not to simply say Iia Code of Ethics only. Sometimes they would just say which of the IPPF elements. So you're talking now in the sense of saying maybe it could be the Code of Ethics that has been violated, the IPPF standards that has been violated, or maybe the core principles or the definition of internal auditing. So it's imperative that I explain these things clearly. So now, why I just simply showed you this face is a typical exam technique so that you can remember the four important principles of the Iia Code of Ethics. Or you just simply think about your face. What are those typical features that are there? There's two eyes, there's a nose, and there's a mouth. So when I think about all those features, I already have my four principles of the Iia Code of Ethics. So that was just a typical bonus, I would say. And then let's come back here and explain them. So these are the rules of conduct. The first one dealing with integrity. There are four important rules of conduct. Now, because of time, I'm not really going to explain each one of them line by item. Otherwise, we will not finish the objective of what I intend to achieve here. But just know that under integrity, there's four important rules of conduct. And for exam purposes, here's what you're going to see, and you'll see with the question I'm going to do with you shortly. They'll ask you to identify a violation. Either by stating yes or no, there's a violation. And then from there, you state which of the IPPF element is being violated. In this case of this question, they were dealing with the Iia Code of Ethics. So you would mention the principle, and to an extended level, you might also need to explain the rule of conduct that has been violated. So I'm going to quickly take you through this question shortly after explaining all those elements. So I'll explain through this particular question. So they had about 6 respective cases. And by the way, I've already addressed this question with the previous students. And I can assure you, most of my students, they scored distinction for this module, which is something I'll share as a result in the group, so you'll be able to see for yourself. Now, coming back to the presentation. So integrity has got 4 important rules of conduct. Objectivity has got 3 important rules of conduct. Maybe I should explain what each one of the principles really are. When you're dealing with integrity has to do with you as an internal auditor establishing a degree of trust with the engagement clients. Can they trust you? That's integrity. Objectivity has to do with you. It has to do with your unbiased mental attitude. number one, and it also has to do with you being in a state where your professional judgment cannot be compromised because of either relations with certain parties of the engagement client, or maybe because you've got a financial interest in the subject area. So with objectivity, internal auditors should have an unbiased mental attitude, and they should remain focused throughout to achieve the intended objective of their assignment. That's objectivity principle. Confidentiality deals with protection of information that we acquire in the process of performing the audit. That's confidentiality. Two important rules of conduct here that you see. And then there's competency. Competency deals with three things. And those three things, they are found, or rather embedded in an umbrella that are called proficiency. So when you're talking of competency, we're talking of proficiency of an internal auditor. And proficiency refers to three things: knowledge set that the internal auditor should possess, also dealing with the skill set that the internal auditor should possess, and the experience kit that the internal auditor should possess. That's competency. So we have just summarized basically what these elements of the Iia Code of Ethics really are. I'm going to do two of these cases so that we don't make this presentation too long. So what do we do when we are looking at an exam situation and perhaps they are testing us on this concept? Here's what I'll do, ladies and gentlemen. I'll always start off my point of departure. Always look at the required. So the required is saying, state whether or not the actions of the internal auditor comply with the requirements of the Code of Ethics in each of the following cases, and fully explain your answer by referring to the requirements of the code. And then look at this point, give a reason to your answer. So I want to quickly emphasize what that means. The first part of it, where they're saying, state whether or not the actions comply with the requirements. All you're simply saying there is you're saying, yes, there's compliance, or no, there's compliance. The second thing that you're going to be doing, obviously, is to fully explain your answer by referring to the requirements of the code. So you're now beginning to indicate, okay, which one of those elements of the Iia code has been violated. So I'm talking now of the 4 principles of the code. And then the third thing that they want you to do is to then apply what has been given in the case, which suggests that there has been a violation, or perhaps there is no violation. So let's look at case number 1. So we are told certain facts evidenced in the internal auditor team's working papers that helped to support the basic allegations made by the internal auditors pertaining to a case of fraud were not included in the internal audit report. So there's an exclusion there of confidential, not confidential, but I would say material information, because there's a case of fraud, by the way, that has been identified. So it follows there is material information that should have been included in the working papers of the auditors, but that information was excluded. So there is a violation of the code. So the first thing you would say is, yes, there's no compliance with the code. All right. And then the second thing you do is you indicate which of the principle of the code have been violated. And by the way, looking at the mark allocation, you are expected to give a rule of conduct. So look at this. I'm seeing 4 marks, and I'll show you where the 4 marks are coming from. So the first mark is coming for indicating whether there is a violation or not. So by saying no compliance with the Iia Code of Ethics, I'm getting a mark for that. Second mark is coming for me indicating the principle of the code, which has been violated. There is another mark for that. The second mark is coming by indicating a rule of conduct which have been violated. That's another mark coming from that. And then the last mark is coming for me giving the reason why there is a violation. So all in all, that's where your 4 marks are coming from. Is it making sense, colleagues? Is it making sense? It's a question I'm addressing to you. Please, you can respond. Is it making sense what I'm explaining to you?
Yes, it is. But then I'm more like on the last one that says give a reason for your answer. I'm a bit struggling to understand, because here at number 3, you're saying for the answer, it says due to the non-disclosure of the evidence, fraud in the audit reports. Is that sufficient enough, to get the attention of the marker to actually make you correct?
Yes. There are different ways of portraying it. I think the essence of this is to be able to identify where the problem area is. So if you're looking at this particular case, okay, remember also the mark allocation is a guide. And always when you are especially giving the reason, it's just basically based on what is given in the case study. So if I'm looking at the case number one, the problem is, okay, let me read it word for word as it is in the case study. So certain facts evidenced in the internal auditor team's working papers that help to support the basic allegations made by the internal auditors pertaining to a case of fraud were not included in the internal audit report. So there were allegations that could support, all right, that could support that there is a case of fraud that took place. But those allegations, I mean, the supporting information, all right, was actually excluded, or it was actually not disclosed in the working paper. So this could be sufficient because I'm looking at the mark allocation. So I can still even explain it in different angles to say, well, the reason why there's a violation is because in this case, the internal auditors did not include the supporting evidence that suggests that there has been a case of fraudulent activity that transpired within that organization. So that could be another way I could still be providing the reason. You see, but the essence is, are you suggesting that this is the reason for the violation? That is the most important part of it. So it's not about so much to do with the content that you're giving, but it's all about your point, the reason you're giving. Does it align with the violation that is being given in the case study? And by the way, this because remember, this would be in the form of a discussion in class. I'm not saying this is a comprehensive solution that you would give, but you can actually even explain it in a better way from your own understanding. I hope that answers your question, sir.
Yes, thank you so much. I think it's much easier, like if you put it like that, rather than to go much in details and like time consuming with that time. Thanks.
Very much true. Yeah. So that's great. Any other questions, colleagues? Because I may not be able to explain all the cases with you really, but I can do case number 2 and then we can end it there because I have another session which I need to enter into shortly, okay? So let's look at number 2 and then we can actually discuss it. So in number 2, let's see, what were we given here? Okay. Evidence in the internal auditor's working papers that provided that a criminal act had taken place was included in the internal auditor's draft report. Now, these comments were later removed by the internal audit manager. So the question is there a violation? Yes or no? It's a question I'm asking you. Well, the answer is, well, yes, there is a violation. And if I can take you to your guidelines, I want to just show you the specific rule of conduct in this case. It's actually integrity, which is rule number 3, which says internal auditors shall not knowingly be a party to an illegal activity or engage in acts that are discreditable to the profession of internal auditing or to the organization. That's one aspect to this answer. And then I'm also seeing objectivity being violated because rule number 3 suggests that internal auditors shall disclose all material facts known to them. Such that if not disclosed, it may distort the reporting activities under review. And actually, you can actually observe it there with what the internal audit manager did. So evidence in the internal auditor's working provided that a criminal act had taken place and was included in the internal auditor's draft report. Now, these comments were later removed by the internal audit. I think I'd given, okay, so let me just do it in writing so you guys can actually see it. Let's do it this way. So I'm gonna be
Privilege.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, yeah, sorry to disturb you. I think
100%.
Musa's what do you call this video? It's on. So I'm a bit struggling to see on my side the presentation now that you're doing, because it keeps appearing on my side. Yeah, I don't know if maybe you can turn him off on your side.
Oh, okay, okay. Let's do it like that so it becomes easier. Okay. Is it clearer now from your end? Hello, the gentleman that was asking about this.
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay,
yes.
100%. All right, so let me do this in writing just so that everybody can see it. So looking at this case, gentlemen and ladies, remember we are supposed to address the question whether there's compliance with the requirements of the court or there's no compliance. So my question to you is there a compliance with the court or there's no compliance? I already have the answer, but I just want to see your line of thinking as well. That's why I'm engaging you. And this is something that we can be doing in an assignment setup. So I would have already done the assignment myself. Then when we get into class now, we'll do a discussion like this. So when you get to a case, let's just suppose you're answering the assignment. Then I will ask you, for example, okay, guys, looking at this, what do you guys think? Because in an exam situation, ladies and gentlemen, I will not be there. It will be just you, yourself, and your question paper in front of you. So you must be in a state where you can confidently approach a question and have something to actually write. So that's why I'm actually asking you to say, guys, in this case, is there compliance or no compliance? I just want to see your line of thinking. So question, is there compliance or no compliance? Yes or no? Please, guys, don't shy out. The others, you are more than welcome to engage with me. Compliance or no compliance? Mr. Mpo, you're speaking something? But I can't hear you. I'm not sure whether it's because you are using earphones. Normally, when the person uses earphones, it can be a challenge to be able to hear you audibly. But nonetheless, to save time, let me just help. There is no compliance with the court, okay? And secondly, I'm going to mention which of the code has been violated. Well, the IIA Code of Ethics, Code of Ethics principle, or can you just simply say Code of Ethics, and right there, it will be objectivity, okay? Why I'm saying objectivity, not integrity as such, is because it's not the part of the internal auditor that is actually performed the criminal act, but it is on the part of the client, or whoever that is actually being audited. That is the part that performed the criminal activity, but it's not the internal auditor's side. So it cannot be integrity, which has been violated in this case, but it will be objectivity. And then I would simply say the internal auditors shall, to save time, let me go copy and paste it. So it will be principle number, or not principle, but rule of conduct number 3 under the principle of objectivity. That's what you would state there, which says, shall disclose all material facts known to them that, if not disclosed, may distort the reporting of activities under review. So that's what you would actually state in that case. And then number 3, we are supposed to give a reason for our answer. So the reason would be simply to say that the internal audit manager, what did he do?
Removed some very important details from the report that was initially provided by the internal auditor.
Absolutely, that's it. Or you can simply say that the internal audit manager pre-excluded material findings that were gathered in the working papers by one of the internal auditors. That's how you can actually even portray that part. So ladies and gentlemen, I think at this stage we can be confident to say if an Iia Code of Ethics question is to come, be it in the assignment situation, be it in an exam situation, you can actually approach it with confidence. You can actually approach it with confidence to answer it. If you've got the notes kit that I've provided for you over here, which I'll share in the WhatsApp group as well. Trust me, this will be easier. But as part of my closing remarks, I just want to also bring this to your attention that when you're talking of the standards, these are the Ippf standards that I was referring to. So you've got a setup of attribute standards, then you've got performance standards, and you'll discover that under attribute standards, these are your 1000 series, and under each one of these, for example, purpose, authority, and responsibility, you'll discover that to explain or elaborate further on what purpose, authority, and responsibility of internal auditors really is, and that's where you see, for example, where they say A1 or C1, that A1 or C1, that's what we call implementation standards or part of implementation guidance. When you go into the implementation guidance document itself, which I'm gonna, okay, there's no need for me to really open it, but I have it anyway. It gives details more than what you just see under your standard section. And for this, I must advise for this attribute standards, I would refer you to study guide AUI 2601 study guide. I repeat, for this concept, I would refer you to AUI 2601 study guide. It actually kind of summarizes it better, in my honest opinion. So I think at this stage, I can be able to take questions, clarifications, comments, because we've come to the end of the session. So I'm able to take any clarifications, questions, or comments that you guys have. If you are maybe not comfortable to ask questions here in this class setup, you're more than welcome to send me a WhatsApp message through our admin line or through our email communication, whichever medium of communication platform you would want to use. You can use any, and then I can be able to address you accordingly.